Hello, everybody, and welcome to July 26 Trips and Traps. First from Saratoga, Andy Serling, Eric Donovan.
Great to be up here at Saratoga. So much fun to watch these races. Always a lot going on, whether it be a turf race going long, a sprint going short for 2-year-olds. There's always something going on in a race up here. We got a full slate to bring you. We'll start off with the opening race from opening day.
Yeah, we may have started out what could turn out to be a real trap involving a talented horse for Todd Pletcher's barn who got off to a slow start. I imagine that won't be holding throughout the meet, but we're looking at number 6, Salto, who you can see right away things don't go very well from the start.
Now, Salto, a former European, typical of having not much speed or out of the gate here, and kind of put Salto behind the 8-ball. The horse had been off a long layoff, hadn't run since last November at Churchill Downs from Todd Pletcher's barn, switching to Todd Pletcher for the first time, actually, and Salto will find himself up behind early on.
Yeah, I mean, Javier Castellano did a very good job putting him on the rail, and you can see, especially in the inner turf course here, how if you're able to get on the rail and save some ground that first turn, now the horse can improve his position quite dramatically, as Salto did. So the start didn't affect him that dramatically, but it did compromise him a little bit. Now, I think way too much was made about these turf courses that had not taken a lot of rain for the last month or so, saying that Herf was hugely speed favoring. It's funny, the turf race we look at least 2 of the 3, the routes, the speed horses didn't hold up, and in this case, one of them finished second, but the horse that won the race wasn't compromised.
It seemed like a pretty fair running of this race, at least from a pace dynamic, where you had a contested pace. One of the speeds held on. A couple of them came from the back of the pack to close, and you see right here, Salto, kind of still on hold and toward the back of the pack there. He's got some traffic and sitting in the pocket there, but he's going to have to work his way around 4 horses.
Right. He's towards the back of the pack here, and the number 6 horse in the blue like to be able to stop it and show you exactly where he is. Thank you. And he's going to get bottled up in the run and the stretch. And I guess maybe he would have won, but I don't know, Eric. I mean, so many things went well for him, He was just sort of running at the end, and while he was bottled up, I don't know when he got clear, how much momentum did he have? Is he really a horse that you're dying to bet back at a short price? Does he get stopped?
No, I mean, he'll be second off the layoff. Everyone will have seen the trouble. Todd Pletcher will probably be winning some more races at that point. He comes on. He doesn't have that much time to get his feet back under him and make a run. I thought, he only probably had 4 or 5 strides, but when he did, he kicked in nicely. But he will be a short price, and if he runs against a field like this, yeah, he'll probably beat him. But you're looking at a short price, and if there's someone else that comes from a different type of field that looks a little better, he might be a little bit vulnerable.
I agree. I think that a lot of things went well for him as far as saving ground, and yes, the break cost him a little bit, but Javier did such a good job of getting in his position that he mitigated that quite a bit. And the trouble in the stretch, he might have won this race, but yeah, I'm not looking forward to taking him at 4 to 5 next time he runs. We'll see who he runs against. I think he's more of a trap.
All right, we'll take a look at a 2-year-old race now from opening day, race number 5. This is for fillies going 5.5 furlongs, and Distortion, they are first from the Nick Zito barn. A little bit green here.
Yeah, we're going to show you the break and show you that Distortion ends up breaking 2 or 3 lengths behind the field. Now, this is a race run by Kwawi Katie, the most exciting 2-year-old that probably run in this country so far this year. That is Distortion. What's interesting, and we're just going to pick this race up and show you about the last 3 ace on the head-on. Distortion is way back here. Now, don't forget, Kwawi Katie ends up winning this race by 12 lengths, and he ends up losing by over 20 lengths. But what I think is interesting, as you're going to see him sort of leaving the picture here, but he'll come back in, he will bolt, or she will bolt, I'm sorry, top of the stretch. Obviously an extraordinarily green horse. You see the riders trying to angle out, and oops, just completely leaves the picture there, and will come in much, much later. The point being that Distortion didn't pull herself up. She kept on running. She actually passed a horse in here. And I know you could say, well, she wasn't doing any running, so, so what? What did she really do? Well, it seems that she's very green after the troubles start, and maybe she's a horse when she comes back, be it a month or so, they can get these issues behind her. I think she's a lot better than this finish looks.
Seems like a horse with some talent that they'll probably take back to the barn, work with her a little bit, maybe make an equipment change or something like that, and be much sharper a second time out.
And I think if Nick Zito is starting horses this early in the meet, in all likelihood, they're horses that he wants to get races into because he's a trainer that takes more time and not one known to win with first-time starters.
All right, back to the dirt for our first race from Sunday, July 22nd, a state bred, one other than for fillies and mares going 6.5 furlongs. We'll take a look at Tapitude from the start here.
This was a race that was dominated in the front end, and we'll start out and show you the Tapitude. Whatever she could have done, she basically lost all chance to the start because as we'll break from the gate, and I'll circle it again, she's going to get completely eliminated, breaking slowly and then getting sort of shut off.
Yeah, double whammy for Tapitude there. Not only did she break slow, gets shut off as well. Paper Plane, the horse in the yellow, going to the lead right here, right now. And this race is going to hold up on the front end with Paper Plane pretty much going all the way in the lead here, and the other horses chasing aren't going to be able to get by her. And
right. If
no
we
one
can
else
if we can pick it up the pan, that's good. Thank you. You'll see what happens to Tapitude at the start.
I'll break it, and Tapitude breaks about a length slow, but gets shut off after that by a couple of horses coming over, and then all of a sudden ends up 3 or 4 lengths back.
Yeah, she does. And the other thing is the race, as we said, was completely dominated towards the front end. And you see, Paper Plane, there was another speed horse in here, the 5, Allison's Win, that finished last, and she never even entered the picture in this race, and it made things much easier for Paper Plane. And actually, Vicky's Dancer ran okay on the chase. I thought that Victory Island ran very well, got a terrific ride in here by Javier Castellano, just sort of victimized by the pace. He put her in a good spot. Poor Tapitude is stuck towards the back of the pack.
Stuck toward the back of the pack, and not even on the screen at this point right here in a race that just doesn't develop pace-wise, and any closers type of favor in here, and Tapitude just so far behind the 8 ball, just so tough to make up ground, especially in a race like this where you're not getting any pace cooperation up front.
Yeah, some of the things I want to say about Tapitude, and maybe she finds the right field to run into in the right situation. First of all, she needs to get out of the gate. She's down on the inside here. She's a lug-in horse. I was watching this race carefully in the head-on and also watching her last race carefully in the head-on. And she's a horse, and maybe Rosie exacerbates it by banging her right-handed both times in the stretch, but she's a horse that's dying to dive over towards the rail the whole time, and maybe she's only going to be comfortable she gets the rail. I wish she picked up a little ground in here, Eric.
Yeah, but on the other hand, like we said, the race was kind of pace-dominated here, and she was the only horse from behind to make any kind of run. Of all the closers, she finished ahead of the rest of them. So, I would say that it wasn't a bad effort, but, a horse that probably, again, gets maybe a little bit overbet next time.
It might have been a non-effort on Tapitude. Whether or not she gets the right situation, we'll see.
All right, we'll move on to our next race over to the turf now for a nice running of the Duluth and Overnight Stakes featuring a big favorite in Summerfront, who's a real nice horse. A little interested, though, in Filmshot here, who I think didn't relish being down on the inside. I thought Filmshot got a pretty good trip for most of the way in here, but just seemed to have trouble wanting to come through inside.
Yeah, Filmshot is down on the inside, and the green sort of dropping back. Right outside of him, actually, is Summerfront. I thought that Filmshot ended up a little farther off the pace you would have expected. There's a tough read, this race, to be honest with you. And you can try to follow these horses because we're not stopping it here. But Filmshot sort of came through on the inside in the teal, and he's down here. Summerfront is back here, as I'll circle as they're rolling along. This pace came up very slow on the screen, 24 and 249 and 1. If you actually be the fractions and the margins, then Summerfront won his last half mile in 44 and 4/5 seconds. I find it a little bit hard to believe, to be perfectly honest. I don't know what it is. I just can't seem to figure out the fractions of these turf races, because sometimes they seem to be going fast and the speed holds on, and sometimes it's like this and they're going slowly and the speed falls apart.
Yeah, to me it seemed like just visually it would look a little bit quicker than a 49 and 1. I mean, there's no doubt that Summerfront's a talented horse. Whether or not he ran his last quarter, his last half in 44 and change or not remains to be seen. See Filmshot, who was tracking right in behind the pace, and they're saving every bit of ground throughout the way. And my feeling here was just that there's a big opening down on the inside at the top of the stretch here. The leader comes over a little bit. I think that might have intimidated Filmshot a little bit. I thought maybe if Filmshot was outside, probably could have been second here. Just don't think he relishes being down inside.
It's possible, because I certainly don't think horses want to make their best runs to the inside, and I do think it's possible he's outside. You like him more than I do.
Once he got through down in there, he just kind of shut off a little bit and stopped running when the pack got a little bit tighter there. We'll take a look, and it's certainly, there's 4 paths between the rail and the next horse outside of him. But I think maybe a little bit of hurting here when this horse kind of comes over. You see Filmshot's head kind of turn a little bit and whole body turn a little bit.
Well, he tried to move him. I think that was Edgar trying to get him off the inside.
And he just just doesn't react well down in there. And perhaps it just wasn't a good effort from Filmshot, but I thought it was a talented field, a horse that has some breeding, a 3-year-old that I think could still improve a bit for Belmont.
Well, we'll see. You and I will disagree on this one, but I think he has some ability. And maybe being down inside, he didn't run his race, because he didn't run as well as I thought he could have run in here. Hopefully we can stop this next race at some point, as we can show you some of the horses as we move on to the Sanford.
Here's the Sanford, and a race that was won by Burn Identity, and a very nice effort by Burn Identity, but we'll break it here. Handsome Jack, the ones that goes to the lead, and Brave Dave will be chasing outside.
Yes, and a horse who's getting a lot of press in this race is 128, who closed for third. I thought Burn Identity got an absolutely perfect trip and a good ride by Rose Rosie. I thought 128 got a great setup. For my money, the two horses that ran the best race are the horses that ran second and fourth, Handsome Jack and Brave Dave. And Brave Dave, as you'll see, is very green and will bear out badly in the stretch.
Brave Dave, a second-time starter coming up from Calder, probably could have used a little bit more experience, but Brave Dave certainly runs well, chasing outside and really never giving up. And the race kind of comes together again at the end here, and maybe collapses a little bit, which kind of gets Brave Dave back into the race a little bit.
Right. I'm not sure what happened there. We kind of did want to show you the rest of the race, but somehow now we've got the head-on of the stretch. I guess we're going to show this. What happens in this situation, we didn't get to see the finish, is that the horse on the inside will end up drifting. As he drifts, Burn Identity gets herded out. This is a good example of what happens with herding, and they'll all come more, and he goes in, he comes out. You've got this horse, Brave Dave, is way outside there. That's Handsome Jack. They all get sort of hurt a little bit. For my money, and of course we didn't see the finish of this race, 128. He ran along at the end, but this race was falling apart, Eric.
Absolutely. That's a pick up the pieces third, I think, if I've ever seen one there. I mean, the way the pace was and the way the horses in front were getting tired. Burn Identity had a little bit of a jump on him there, but 128 ran okay there, but nothing I'm too excited about saying that this race is going to propel him to future stardom. He may turn out to be okay and a nice horse, but certainly I think this was more of a product of the pace here.
I agree. I think that the first, second, and fourth horses are more sprinters. Perhaps 128 will want more distance, maybe just a closing sprinter. I don't know. I'm not inclined to want anybody but the speeds out of this race, to be perfectly honest, going forward. We'll see.
I agree. We'll take a look at first race from Monday now. A 35 claimer on the turf for 3-year-olds and up, going 5.5 furlongs. The 4 tight end Touchdown gets in a bit of traffic trouble here. The 2 Black Rhino, who look like one of the speeds, gets left.
Yeah, and this was first time on the turf for tight end Touchdown, and I believe it was the first time for Mike Maker as well. This was the day to have him, because he should have won this race. He's blocked badly in the stretch. It's one of these things where I think Javier Castellano was doing the right thing, and he just didn't get lucky. I mean, sometimes these turf races, it's hard, and I don't think he married himself to the rail. I think he's a victim of circumstance here. The question is, how strong was the field, and are you going to want him next time? Because he would have won here if he got clear.
This is true. I don't think the field was all that strong. He was 5-1 in this race. I would say if he's matched up against a similar kind of field next time out, you're looking at 5-2. He has the turf experience under his belt now. He's got some trouble. You see him right there and behind horses, just waiting for a seam which never develops in there, and Black Rhino toward the back of the pack. But I think you're right. I think this was the time to have tight end Touchdown.
Black Rhino got left in here and completely shuffled out. I think Black Rhino's a horse that Maggie liked, the way he looked at the paddock. And actually, he did very well to finish third in here. Tight end Touchdown, as you can see, sort of between horses here with Javier. Those familiar Ramsey Silks. He's just blocked for life.
It was a nice ride, actually, by Julian Leperoux, knowing that tight end Touchdown had some horse in here, and he just doesn't let him out, just keeps him pinned down inside there, and there's really nowhere to go for tight end Touchdown, who, if tight end Touchdown was able to get clear, I think he probably wins.
Yeah, he probably does. But he probably would have done it with a perfect trip as well. Anyway, that does it for this week's Trips and Traps. There's so many trips here at Saratoga. We try to catch as many as we can, but of course, we can always use your help. Trips and Traps at NYRAinc.com.
Thanks for watching.